Hey, everybody, it's Professor Malat. We're looking at the week 7 overview right now. This is a super important week, not only because we are halfway through our summer term, but also because you're working on your research paper rough draft. Now, you'll remember a couple of weeks ago, I posted a heads up in the announcements asking you to look ahead so that you could plan accordingly because I haven't given you a whole lot of time for this research paper. This is a shorter research paper. It's 5 to 6 pages using 4 to 6 sources. Typically, research papers are much longer, 10 to 15, maybe even 20 pages, depending on the course. So this is a short research paper because we don't have much time during the summer term. But it gives you an introduction to how to write these sorts of academic papers. So yeah, heads up, the final revision or the final draft is due right after the July 4th holiday in week 8. And we start again right into another unit on rhetorical analysis. So I wanted to go over some of the resources here before I actually dive into the research paper rough draft assignment. There are a couple of things that I want you to be aware of in that assignment. So you'll see here that in the readings and the lectures and optional materials, I have bolded a few of those resources. Hopefully that will get your attention. These are resources that if you are really short on time, I know a lot of you have jobs and families and you're juggling a lot of multiple things during the summer, and it might be hard to get to each and every resource that I post. I don't expect you to reach all of them. It's kind of there as a smorgasbord. If you need additional help, you can always look at those additional resources. So for the readings, introducing and unpacking quotations, I think these are all from the same Lumen Learning course. They all address how to deal with citations, how to use quotations, paraphrasing, that kind of thing. But for our purposes this week, I think introducing and unpacking quotations is a super important reading. So make sure that you take a look at that. And in the lectures and media, to go along with that reading, there is study hall rhetoric and composition, citation, quotation, and paraphrasing. So that explains the basics of how you cite, how you quote, how you paraphrase. This is a quality video taught by a professor of rhetoric and composition at Arizona State University in conjunction with Crash Course. So you've probably seen some of the Crash Course videos either on your own or ones that I have assigned as resources in this course. But I think this is really well done. It's succinct, it's short, and it's to the point. And in the optional materials, if you should need it, using a citation generator. I don't have a problem with you using citation generators. We learned how to grab citations from Academic Search Complete and the Points of View Reference Center. So you should be a little bit familiar with how citations look, but now you're using your own sources and you might not have that tool to grab from the databases. I would prefer that you use a database, but if you're using other outside materials, you'll need to know how to use a citation generator. So that video, short video, explains how to use Citation Machine. There is also another citation generator called EasyBib, which is very similar. They both work the same way. EasyBib, I feel, is actually a little bit better because there's not quite as many pop-ups to deal with. The pop-up ads in Citation Machine can be kind of irritating. And again, if you need extra information about formatting your documents in Google Docs or Microsoft Word, I have those videos as well. But the ones that are bolded here, definitely pay attention to. I think those are the most important resources to help you complete this research paper rough draft. So that said, let's dive into the research paper rough draft. I'm going to click this as view as student. So you'll see this is what you see when you're a student logging in and accessing the assignment. Of course, I have long instructions there, but what I really want to draw your attention to is the rubric down at the bottom. So we have the research essay rough draft, and over on the left, you'll see the criteria. So I am grading on the content of your paper, quoting and paraphrasing, clarity and coherence, the use of sources, and the length, as well as MLA formatting. So there's going to be a little bit of MLA formatting. If you have trouble with MLA formatting, you may lose a point or two. Of course, in the rough draft, it's not as important as it is in the final version. So for content, your paper should have a clear thesis, well-organized body paragraphs, and a strong conclusion. You want to ensure your arguments are supported by the evidence from your sources, right? It is a research paper. We're using sources to help support our own ideas. Quoting and paraphrasing. So you're going to be graded on how you incorporate properly quoted and or paraphrased material from your sources with appropriate in-text citations. Now, in-text citation could be the signal phrase, it could be the stuff in parentheses at the end, or some combination of those things. By now, you should have some familiarity. We went over some of this in the synthesis essay, the first essay that you wrote for the course. So now you should be a little bit more comfortable using those things. Clarity and coherence. Of course, we want you to write clearly and coherently, with logical flow, good transitions, all of that wonderful stuff. For sources, you're using 4 to 6 credible sources. All the sources must be cited in text and listed on a separate works cited page. I don't say separate there, but it is expected that your works cited page does not add to the word count for your essay. The length, the rough draft should be at least 4 to 5 pages long, not including your separate works cited page. So that might be a little confusing. I do want you to have your works cited page, but that is not included in your page count. So please make sure that you have your works cited page as well as 4 to 5 pages of your rough draft. So the rough draft should be mostly done. It doesn't need to be perfect. We call them rough drafts for a reason, right? Sometimes they can be pretty rough, but try to do your best to get the whole paper done, or to your best ability. Maybe you'll be working on the introduction, maybe you'll be working on the conclusion, but try to get the meat of that paper done. And of course, as I said before, MLA formatting, follow the MLA guidelines for formatting in-text citations as well as the works cited page. Again, I do have resources available in the course for you if you are confused by any of that. So the purpose, of course, is to develop your research, your writing, and critical thinking skills. You're going to create a rough draft of a 5 to 6 page research paper using 4 to 6 credible sources and include properly formatted MLA works cited page. You can read the skills as well as the knowledge. So the tasks, what do you have to do, right? Well, choose a topic. Hopefully that's done already. If you've been doing the assignments the way that they're designed, you are on top of things, right? So you'll have a topic that interests you and is relevant to the course. Make sure it's narrow enough to be thoroughly covered in 5 to 6 pages. If you choose a really complex topic that would be better addressed in 10 to 15 pages, maybe that's not the appropriate topic at this time. It might be for the next English course that you take. Conduct your research. So you're going to locate 4 to 6 sources, credible sources. So that means books, academic journals, reputable websites. And again, information from last week, you now know how to evaluate your sources to find out which sources are credible and which might be dubious. They're going to provide information on your topic. You want to take detailed notes, keep track of your sources for your works cited page. My recommendation for students when you're going through the research process is when you have your source, get that citation right off the bat, right? Don't wait until the end. Get the citation right off the bat and keep that citation with your notes. So it's good to have a working document where you're taking your notes, or if you're writing out by hand, write down that citation, copy that citation. That way you know where that information that you're quoting or paraphrasing has come from, so that you can properly give proper attribution to the source in your paper. And then write the rough draft. Sounds easy, right? Write a 5 to 6 page rough draft of your research paper. Make sure you include an interesting title, an introduction with a clear thesis statement, body paragraphs that support your thesis with evidence from your sources. Remember, research papers are going to be longer than 5 paragraphs total. Don't squeeze everything trying to get into that 5 paragraph format that was drilled into you in high school. Properly quoted and paraphrased material from your sources with in-text citations. Here, look at the bolded words. You must include at least one direct quotation per source. And that needs to be a real, true quote, not some made-up quote that AI spewed out for you. I do check your quotes. I do check your sources. The first thing I do is I will look at your list of sources when I'm assessing your paper. I'll look at your sources, make sure that they are accurate and that they're not some crazy AI hallucination. Yes, it happens. And then, if there's a problem, I will let you know in your draft, and then you have the opportunity to fix things. If it occurs in your final revision, then you're going to be losing a good amount of points. A conclusion that summarizes your findings and restates your thesis. You know the drill here: intro, body, and conclusion. Every piece of writing has that. MLA formatting. Of course, we should know the drill by now. Format your paper according to MLA guidelines, including your in-text citations and the works cited page. Again, you'll see the criteria for success. Again, in the rough draft, I'm not really making up points for that, but in the final content, right? The bulk of your paper, 40% of your paper is going to be judged on the content. 20% will be judged by how well you quote and paraphrase your sources. 15% is dealing with the logical flow, writing a clear and coherent paper. 15% use of sources. 5% you have to make sure that it's long enough, and 5% for formatting as well. So this is submitted by Sunday, June 28th. You know, again, what you need to do. If you fail to comply with the submission standards, you'll receive a 0 until that document is submitted in the correct file format. So if you accidentally upload an Apple Pages file and it's not loading for me, I will let you know. You'll have a temporary 0 until that is remedied. Likewise, don't share your links to Google Docs or your Microsoft Word online account, SharePoint, whatever it's called these days, Word doc or PDF. Okay, you should know the drill by now. It's not that hard. So all the information here, as you will see, is straightforward for you. I know it's lengthy, and this video is getting lengthy, so I'm going to wrap it up now. The additional assignment that you have along with your rough draft, of course, is discussion board. So instead of doing peer review on the rough drafts, I have opted to make that a discussion board assignment, where you will post your draft outline and your thesis, and then you have an opportunity to both receive and provide feedback to your peers to get additional feedback. Of course, I will be providing feedback on your rough drafts. I will try to get that feedback done as soon as possible. I will be devoting next Monday and Tuesday after you submit the work to providing feedback for you, in-depth feedback, corrections, and that kind of thing. I won't be doing as much on copy editing. So again, I urge you to proofread carefully. And if you have questions about any kind of proofreading issues, you can reach out to a writing tutor. We have the Academic Writing Center. The tutors are working throughout the summer, and they can work with you virtually if you want somebody to take a look at your paper before you submit it, or if you're struggling with anything, reach out to the Academic Writing Center. All right, have a fantastic week, and I look forward to reading your papers. Bye-bye.